Management Research. Hello and welcome to the Management Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene. Hello and welcome to the next episode in our podcast. Today I start a new mini-series on the topic of motivation. And the topic of motivation is an outdated one. We know a lot about motivation. There are several theories of motivation. And in the next episodes, we are going to talk about two theories. Let's say very established, known theories, although there are also many other theories that explain why people get motivated or get demotivated. And in our today's episode, we start with the theory of Herzberg, who proposed the hygiene or two-factor theory of motivation. And usually I ask my students what model of motivation, what theory of motivation they know. And they usually say that they know the Maslow pyramid. And I ask them to forget about this theory because first of all, it is outdated. And second, it was a kind of very wrong. If you remember the theory by Maslow, he proposed the pyramid of needs, whereby the first two levels in this pyramid were about the security and about the status and so on. So if you don't have your security, if you don't have means for a living, then you cannot be motivated, you cannot do anything. And then you have to evolve in this pyramid. You have to offer your employees something additional, and once they fulfill all the needs at the bottom levels of the pyramid, they came up with the self-realization where you offer your employees something what they really want to do, what is the purpose of their life, and this is the highest level of motivation. Yet there was a problem with this pyramid, because we know that many people are motivated and do a lot of things without having the basic security. And vice versa, many people with the basic level of security, they are not motivated at all. And this issue was addressed by Herzberg, one of the researchers in the field of motivation, who proposed his own view on how motivation should look like. And he said that there are actually two factors that the pyramid by Maslow can be split into. And the first one are the hygiene factors, or the job dissatisfaction factors. The second factor is the motivators or job satisfaction factors. And his idea was that if you then have the minimum amount of this hygiene or job dissatisfaction factors, then people get dissatisfied. If you offer them a certain level or at least something from these factors, they get satisfied, but they do not get motivated. On the other hand, you have also motivators. So if you don't have this factor, if you don't offer to your employees some aspects from their work that relate to these motivators, they will not be motivated, but they will not be dissatisfied. And he said that we have to look at the organization through this lens of two factors, the dissatisfaction, satisfaction, and motivation. And if you look at the factor dissatisfaction or hygiene factor, he said that the following items belong to this factor. This was security, status, salary, working conditions, interpersonal relations, supervision, company policy, and administration. So if you don't have sufficient salary, sufficient amount of salary that allows you to cover your costs for living, then probably you will be very dissatisfied. But you offer the minimum cost for living, it doesn't make you motivated. You will just make your job as required, but you will not be willing to walk an extra mile. The same with the status, the same with the security. If you feel secure, it's good, but it doesn't mean that you get motivated. So these are the items from the factor dissatisfaction. On the other hand, he said, you can offer your employees something that will increase their motivation. For example, the growth, the advancement in job, responsibility, work itself, recognition for achievement, and achievement itself. So if you show your employees that they can grow within the organization, if you show how they can advance, if you allow them to take more responsibility, they get more motivated. If they don't have the growth perspective, if they don't have the responsibility, it doesn't make them dissatisfied because it's just regular working condition as everywhere on the market. And with this in mind, he resolved a kind of big issue that we had with the Maslow pyramid, that actually people can have the status and don't be motivated, and people without the status can be motivated if you offer them, for example, interest in work or the growth perspective. And this introduces the big change to the way we look at motivation. At least it happened in 1970s, 1960s, 1970s, so it was many years ago. But for that moment, it was revolutionary. And I can honestly tell you that up to now, I meet managers from firms who rely on this theory. Although we have better theories and newer theories of motivation, many of managers, they still think in terms of this hygiene or job dissatisfaction items and motivators or job satisfaction items. And if you want to have a high level of outcome, if you want to have a high level of efficiency and effectiveness, you have to offer both. So what we have here, I think the only important aspect has to be mentioned in this episode. It is the salary, because the salary, Herzberg said, can be both a factor for job satisfaction, and it can also load on the factor of motivators. And the reason is very simple, because we have the salary that without a minimum amount of it, we will not be able to survive. So we need it as a kind of security, as a kind of status, that without the salary, you will feel uncomfortable or you won't be able to cover your costs for living. On the other hand, salary can also be a motivator, because the salary can also show a kind of achievement, what you have achieved, and that the organization acknowledges this achievement. If you think about the basic salary and additional bonus that you can receive for your work, then in this event, the basic salary will belong to the hygiene factor, because it is something that you need to cover the costs of your living. And the second part would probably reflect the responsibility that you take, for example, managerial responsibility, it will be paid also higher. And the achievement, that if you achieve more, you get also more money. So money is a reflection, is an indicator, a proxy for your achievement and recognition for achievement. We have to know that the hygiene theory or two-factor theory by Herzberg is a dynamic theory, but about the dynamism we're going to talk in the next episode of our podcast. I hope it was interesting, hope it was useful, and I hope that you can look now at your life and at your work from a different perspective and try to see what causes the dissatisfaction and what causes the motivation. And if you're a manager, you may think about how to increase motivation of your employees or how to decrease dissatisfaction of them. Wish you all the best and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.